Hello, homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout, where today we have the immense treat of getting to hang out again with the beautiful Ambika Wauters. Welcome back to the show, Ambika.
Thank you, Eugenie. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Such a pleasure. Any excuse to chat with you. We've already had such a lovely chat, and then we were like, oh, we should probably start recording. But we can have lots more chats in Bali soon, which I'm super excited
Oh,
about.
can't wait.
Now, you have released a new book called
Yes, healing
Healing the
the
Light
light
Body.
body.
Snap! Healing the Light Body, Igniting the Chakras for Health, Wealth, Love, and Perfect Self-Expression. I really love that title.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I've been writing about the chakras and studying them for years. I've done yoga for over 52 years, and the first books I wrote in 1990 and through the years have been about chakras. So this is the ninth book on chakras. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it, thinking about what was new and how could this we go deeper into understanding the nature of our own energy systems. And the chakras, what I love about them is that they hold everything from the gods and goddesses and the mythology to the archetypes to the hormones and the energy fields, the organs. But what I really love more than anything are the life issues. The life issues are how I define the chakras. Somebody's need for grounding or stability or safety, security, the right to their own life, a better structure that holds them and supports them. That's the root chakra. I could spend a lot of time just talking and working with the root chakra because we need to be grounded to live on this earth plane. But I love the life issues. And it made me think a lot about how we develop, how we grow, how we transform. And every time we take a step higher in consciousness, we expand our capacity to receive, which is what the chakras are. They're huge receptacles. And I remember when I first went to the UK back in 1989 to study homeopathy, I was meditating on the chakras and trying to visualize them. And my root chakra was the size of a postage stamp. And I thought, I think I better do something about this if I'm going to be in this strange cold land. And I did. That's when I started creating the meditations. And eventually it turned into workshops, and workshops led to more revelations and more tools for working with the energy system. And eventually, the books started to get written. And this one was just going deeper, expanding my capacity to receive more knowledge and more wisdom about the chakras. They hold everything. They hold everything that a human has to deal with in this lifetime, from birth to death and everything in between. And they have affirmations, they lend themselves to rights. The rights of the chakras are huge. The right to your own life, the right to pleasure, the right to your own empowerment, the right to receive and give love, the right to self-expression, the right to wisdom, and to what I call your inner knowing, and ultimately to that great Christ light that radiates such eternal goodness into our systems. So that's how it was, just a little more, a little better, a little deeper than the other books.
I notice is that your pendulum you've got in your hand there? Oh, that's beautiful. That is the
Thank you.
one thing that of course, I've had a few people on the podcast that use muscle testing and pendulums and things like that. And I keep on thinking I need to just spend some time and really honing that skill. But I think
So it's
that,
easy. I can show you very quickly when we're together, we'll do it. I
okay.
mean, I could show you online, but it's good to be in the same
Hmm.
and this, it's
I've had a few people on the podcast show me, but I think I just need to actually go sit and do it and just, it's one
yeah,
of
it's
those.
just there's a chakra on each hand. Well, you can actually see that, see how wide it is there. That's the chakra. And you just let it go, let the thing go and pick up your energy field and ask a question. Show me yes and show me no. And it may be different. You may find that this is yes and this is no. It depends on your field and how you're wired, and that's what works for me. But I do love to teach it. It's a wonderful way of gathering information. It's like if you had to do research and find out this and that about something or somebody, and it's endless, it's tedious, it's generally quite factual and very left brain. But if you really wanted to find out about somebody or something, I have learned to really trust my energy field and trust that, I called myself pendulum dependent at one time. I have bought houses with this. I have moved countries with this. But I had a brilliant clinical supervisor when I was in homeopathic college, Ian Townsend, who's now passed away. He's just the dearest soul that ever lived. And he said to me, Ambika, learn to think, put your pendulum away. I went, oh my God, I don't think I've ever had a cogent thought in my life. So I did. I did. I put my pendulum away for a good few years. And when I finally graduated and went into practice, I was longing to pull it out. I had questions I needed to know. So I pulled it out and started asking questions. That's what it is. You can only do yes or no. There's no such thing as maybe with this. It just won't move. Show me yes, show me no. And I'll tell you where I've used it in homeopathy, not for the remedy, never for the remedy, but often for the potency.
Mm.
You really want to get the potency right. That's my feeling. You want to get it right. You do not want to disturb the vital force more than it needs to be disturbed. I like a good, easy flow in my practice. I don't like calls at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. I don't like calls on Christmas Day. I like a smooth, even, occasional little blips of up and
Mm.
downs. I like getting the potency as right as rain. So I'll use the pendulum for that. And of course, to read the chakras, that's the best.
Amazing. Yeah, you've got a bit in your book as well about chakra massage, which I thought was really
Yes, that was
amazing.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
it did.
you did, and I feel like this book is a really nice kind of overview as well. I think it can be good if you're new to chakras or this type of
Sure.
way of thinking, but it's also really good if you have been working with it for a while because you have really great charts in here, which can become for a practitioner kind of like a reference
Right.
book. Like I'll just hold up here the root chakra, for example. And some people
Right.
say chakra and some say chakra, right?
Whatever.
Yeah. I do like
Whatever.
the chakra, the energy of the cha. So I'm just going to hold it up here.
Chakra. That's what they'd say in India.
I'll hold
Yeah.
this way. Just if
Yes.
anybody is watching on Rumble, because something that I really like before you go and buy a book is to see the layout. I want to see how's it laid out, get a feel for it. I mean, I would just buy books anyway because I'm slightly obsessed, but I really like it the way you've laid it out. And in this way, I think the book can be a really great reference guide because if you are looking, for example, this one at the root chakra, and you want to see what sort of music is helpful for the root chakra. It's the drumming. What is the color? What is the glandular connection? What is the sensory experience? What's the element? What's the essential oil? The crystal, the aspect of the solar system, the astrological association, the metal, the earthly location, the mythological animal, the plant, the qualities, the life issues, physical activities, spiritual activities, the positive archetype and the negative archetype, and the angelic presence, which I love. We definitely need to talk more about the angels and the chakras as well. I love that for somebody that's kind of, I mean, I've known about this sort of stuff for a while, but it's not something I've delved too deeply into. So I feel like this is going to become a really great reference guide for me that if I am picking up that this person has a root chakra issue, and
Yeah.
I think that's from when you're born to age 7, right? Which
Right.
makes sense that a lot
Conception.
of
Conception.
conception.
Yeah, to 7.
So it makes
Yeah.
sense that a lot of people have issues around that because isn't there
No
a saying
kidding.
something like give me a child until 7 and I'll give you a man or like you
Give me the
basically
child, I'll give you the man. That's
yeah
right.
because that
The
age
Jesuits say that.
after age 7 is where your foundation really is created and so many of our clients we see in clinic have got probably root chakra issues and so
I'd say the planet has root chakra
mm,
issues that almost I've never met anybody. That's not true. I've met people with extremely well developed root chakras, but they're so developed that they don't develop the other chakras.
ah
Yeah, you need the whole kit and caboodle. It's a package. The chakras are a package, and when one is low, another one will compensate. So let's say you had a very challenging childhood, the difficult birth, mother immature, not able to nurse or take care of you. You had to figure it out on your own, or there were poverty issues or bankruptcy. I'm just trying to think of the things that affect the
Mm,
root chakra, illness, death, just a challenging upbringing. Well, there would be compensation in the upper chakras. There would be compensation in the heart. There would be compensation, not necessarily in the throat, but certainly in the brow. Often you meet people who are really, really bright. I mean, super intelligent people who had very challenging childhoods, very challenging upbringings. And you wonder, how did they ever get so bright? They had to be bright in order to survive. And you can see this thing of compensation throughout the whole chakra system. With the colors, let's say you have the red in the root chakra, the green in the heart, and the blue in the brow, they complement one another, but it isn't necessarily true that the life issues will complement one another. But I've often seen people with very compromised sacral chakras. It's the weakest chakra in the energy system. Very compromised. Women who've been raped, or people with sexual issues or financial issues. That's often a very big giveaway for a dysfunctional sacral chakra. But they've got something else at a higher level that's really full of grace. When I took, as a homeopath, as a classical homeopath, when I would take a case, sometimes I didn't like the people I treated because all I was dealing with was their negativity. So like at the end of a session, it was like, well, I have to go for a long walk to ground this stuff. But in doing the color remedies and the chakras, I learned to love people in a whole different way because I could see what was noble in them. I could see their grace. I could see where the goodness came out in them, which you don't often get. You don't, even with a 2 hour case taking for your initial case, you don't hit on all the good stuff. You hit on the bad stuff. You hit on the pain, trauma, separation, accidents. You hit on the negative, horrible things because that's what we're trained to do. But in doing this work, I learned to love people in a whole different way. And I stopped being so judgmental and just accepting that there was grace, maybe not in the lower chakras, but there certainly was in the upper system. And that helped me heal. It's hard to work all the time with levels of negativity. It's very hard. You need to be very strong in order to hold the space for that. So I delight in working with the chakras and the colors and sounds and those wonderful illumination remedies that open the spirit, because then I get to see what's really good in people.
mm. I really want to talk about the light body as well, because you mentioned a few months ago, you said, "Oh, Eugenie, I'm almost done with this book, but I've just had an aha moment and now I have to rewrite the book because it's the light body. It's the light body." It's kind of, you sounded almost like a mad scientist that just had this eureka moment.
I have to tell you, I thought I had really finished the book. It was 2.5 years in the making. I'm sound asleep, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and I hear this voice in my head say, "It's not the chakras, it's the light body." And I mean, I went, "It's the light body. It's the light body." I was walking around for days going, "It's the light body." I have to rewrite the book. It is the light body. The light body is what turns on the light of the chakras. The light body is that, in Hebrew, they call it neshama, the soul body. It's one of the 5 layers of the soul, and it emanates light, the light of the creator. It just emanates light, and as it does, it turns on the chakras. So the way to get that body built and balanced is through meditation and prayer, meditation and prayer. And then you can go in and you can heal the dysfunction in the chakras quite easily, because the chakras are incredibly responsive. I'll show you one of my favorite things to do. Let me get my feet on the ground. Okay. I'm beautiful and everybody loves me. I'm beautiful and everybody loves me. I'm beautiful and everybody loves me. I'm ugly and nobody loves me. I'm ugly and nobody loves me. I'm ugly and nobody loves me. I'm beautiful and everybody loves me. I'm beautiful and take your pick. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry. What is it? It's going to be, it's your choice, how you see this planet, how you see yourself, how you see your purpose, how you see others. It's all in your optic. Nobody is doing anything to you, not to the deepest part of you. You may get your toe run over, or you may come up against some very abusive things in your life. And I'm not dismissing that. But at the very deepest level, you cannot touch the soul. It is pure, it is innocent, and it remains that way through life. So when you can connect with that layer of the soul body, you can start to create the world you want around you. You can start affirming yourself and your right to your own life. That's the right for the root chakra, your right to your own life. I've taught that for many, many years, 25, 30 years. And sometimes in a workshop, somebody will say, what do you mean, the right to my own life? And you know that they have no idea what that means because they did what they were told. They did, mom said, you're not going to be a concert pianist, you're going to be a surgeon, or you can't go to that college, or you can't date that girl, or you can't marry that boy because his father comes from, these are not our kind of people. If you believe and you hook into that and don't think our parents, because it's our parents' generation more than anything that really hooked into that, you will never find fulfillment because you never found the right to your own life. And when I teach that, I see there's a lot of remorse in people. It's like, let it go and start creating the life you want. Why would you put up with being unhappy? Why would you put up with being abused? Why would you put up with being poor and impoverished? Why would you put up with being hungry? Why would you put up with the zillion things people are willing to put up with because they don't know they have a right to their own life? And I'd say that's 9/10 of what we do in homeopathy. But we don't address the root, we address the solar plexus more than anything. If you look at the remedies in the Materia Medica, they are, I'd say maybe 75% are focused on the digestive organs, the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, the stomach, the bowels. Those are the organs of digestion where we take a new idea, we break the idea down, and we assimilate it because it's assimilation. 9/10 of all disease is the inability to assimilate not just food, but ideas, the ability that we are assimilating something new, a new idea that affirms our worth and honors our choices. That's what we want all the time. So by learning the chakras, you can use the color and sound remedies, the solfeggio remedies, even the archangel remedies. But these concepts are, I think, they're hugely important. They take some of the grunt work out of repertorization. I'm a great believer in repertorizing. I love repertories. I work with Robin Murphy's repertory, and I've worked with Franz Vermeulen's repertory. They're great. And if you have to go a little further, you have to be willing to expand your consciousness just a little further to grasp the concept of the chakras. They're there, they are real, they are non-anatomical. Some people can see them, clairvoyants can see them, but they are there. They are the energy field that hold the organs, that hold the ductless glands, and hold these concepts of life development. And I think they're very worthwhile knowing about. It expands your field as a homeopath, and it allows you to see, first of all, how development unfolds. Somebody doesn't just get an idea and everything clears up. Maybe it does, maybe if you're really lucky. Oh, yes, I got it, and now I'm healed. I love that. I mean, yes, it happens. Of course it happens. But generally, healing is a process, and it takes time. And when you understand something like an affirmation, the ability to transform your own energy with just a thought, that really knocked my socks off. The first time that concept came to me was reading Louise Hay 1,000 years ago when she said, it's only a thought. Just like you think you're not worthy, it's only a thought. So affirm your right to your own life, affirm your right to your beauty, your health, your prosperity, your friendships. I've been reading something lately. It's about taking the death out of your body, taking the death out of your business, taking the death out of your relationships, and putting in the life force. It's a choice. It's a choice. Yeah.
You've got so much wisdom, Ambika. I feel like I can just sit here and just like absorb your knowledge.
I
It's
start,
so incredible.
I can't turn it off.
Can you say a little bit more about the light body? And you said it's one of the layers of the soul, so it's eternal. It carries on throughout. But
It does.
anything else that you can say about the light body and maybe how we connect with our light body? I know you've covered this in your book, but I'm just this for anybody who
I
hasn't read it
think
yet.
that through meditation, you really learn to connect to who you are. You see your shadow, you learn to love it. And as you love your shadow, your energy expands. And it's the same with the light. The light is always there. What's blocking the light? What blocks the light? Your beliefs block the light. The belief that you're unworthy of receiving God's goodness, the belief that you'll never make it or that you'll always be a failure. We know the remedies for that. We know the Aurum remedies, the Nat mirrors, the Adamus, the diamond. We know these remedies for despair and depression, where people are really locked into a belief. They identify with, did I make enough money or did I not make enough money? Or am I too short? Am I too tall? Am I, what could I be? How could I be different instead of how I am? Instead of just loving the vessel, loving who you are, loving what God gave you. And that every time you affirm yourself, you take off a layer of dirt, of negativity, of falsehood. It's what they call, the false narrative. And if you identify with that false narrative, you will never find healing, no matter what pill or what medicine or what treatment or what therapy, you won't. I have clients who I've been to 30 doctors in, 5 years. I mean, really, what's that about? What is it you don't want to hear? That you're responsible for your own health? I mean, I'm just saying that, making up a scenario. But the light body, because it is based in the truth of who you are, it's incredibly responsive. It's like looking in the mirror and saying, "Hello, beautiful, how are you today?" And something lights up. You see your eyes light up. You got a little more twinkle in your eyes, a little more skip in your step. It's that easy. It's not a struggle. It's a struggle to find the constitutional. It's a struggle to find the remedies for pathology. It is. Homeopathy is work. I'm not saying it's not a worthy effort, because it is, and it's something I love, and I love doing it. And in the context of what is wholesome, what is good, what is within your grasp, that is a blessing, that turns the light on. It dissolves the blocks. The light is there. There's nothing, you don't have to turn on the switch. It's there. It wants to shine. It wants to be expressed. It wants to love other people and receive that love. But what's the block? Well, I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. I'm a sinner. It's not to say we're not. It's not to say we're not, but it's also to say we ask for forgiveness. We forgive those that have hurt us. We melt the blocks. That's what the inner work is. It's dissolving the negativity so the light can shine. And when the light shines and you put a remedy behind it, it's just magic how quickly people can transform their lives and get well.
Mm,
It's miraculous.
mm.
It's miraculous.
You talk
And
about prayer as well, like not necessarily the religious prayer. Like what do you mean by prayer?
spiritual prayer, oh, just
Mm.
addressing the creator and saying thank you. Thank you. What are there only two things to pray for? Please help me and thank you. You can embellish it any way you want. Please help me pass this exam. Please. And thank you so much for the good grade. You know, it's we ask and then we say thanks. I started doing this practice, and one of the old timers in New Thought, I can't remember his last name, Bob. I want to say Bob Proctor, but I don't think that's correct.
There was a
Anyway,
Bob Proctor. Yeah.
yeah, he had this wonderful practice of writing down 10 gratitudes and then picking 3 people who really irritated you and sending them love, and then meditating for 5 minutes and then writing down the guidance that you got. So I started doing it about 5 months ago when yes, 5 months ago when I was first invited onto your program. And it's been magical, especially the guidance. It really opens the light body and it lets the goodness come through. And it's getting used to it. It's getting used to the light. If people have lived their life in semi-darkness, when the light comes, it can be overwhelmingly bright, too bright, and they don't want to see it. They walk around, like this because it's your light. It's not my light. It's not your neighbor's light. It's your light. It's that light of the creator that was given to you from the beginning. It's programmed into your DNA. Really, they're going to find that RNA and DNA is nothing more than light. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you give me all the chemical,
Explanations and
explanations, but
diagrams.
yeah, it's light. It's the light of the
Mm,
creator, and it's in us. We're wired for it. And you have to ask yourself, well, do you get more out of being sick and crippled and helpless than you would out of being happy? And a lot of times you'll hear, leave me alone. This is what I want. And I'll respect it. That is your choice. But I like to offer people the opportunity to explore the realm of possibilities. I know I got married very well, was married young, and then I had a long period of time in between and got married in my early 70s. And somebody said, early 70s, are you kidding? I said, no, I fell in love at 67.
aw.
And you see that when you say that to a single woman, they go, are you kidding? I said, no, why would I kid about something like that? And they think, is that possible? You see it in their eyes. Is that possible for someone like me? I said, love is always possible at any age, at any age. Love is who we are. Love is where we come from. Love is where we're going back to. So why not? Open yourself to the realm of possibilities and let that light shine because it's there and it wants expression so badly. Yeah, and that's what I call play. Once that light shines, the rest is just fun. It's just play. It's a delight. It's a delight to be on the planet and have the kind of day you had yesterday.
Mm,
You said that was one of the nicest days you've ever had. How lovely is that to be able to say that? I love saying that. What a great day. Thank you.
mm,
And
mm,
then kind of going back late at night before I go to sleep, just looking back on the day and what was great and who was great and what tasted great. And I love going back over the day and going, oh, wow, I forgot about that, how wonderful that was.
mm,
Gratitude is the key. Gratitude will open up your energy field faster than anything. And it helps us heal. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. I hope
mm.
that answers your question about the light body.
It does, it does. And it also leads me into your thought to create a remedy from your light body. So you'll have to tell us a bit about that as well and how you had
Yeah,
the
I've done it.
inspiration for that.
And I've created a couple more since then that are even more powerful. Yes, I created a remedy of my light body, and I run a class called the Illumination Remedy class, where we all make our own remedies based on all kinds of things. And it's a stunning class. So I gave that to students to prove and got some wonderful feedback and also some of the dark side of the light body, which is confusion. Some gals got confusion, uncertainty, but many of them got assurance. They got a sense of certainty about themselves. It was really lovely. Some of the things we're doing in this class now, we have 2 gals from Boston who I put in touch with you, who have done the AI, which is incredible. We've got in that same class, we've got a gal doing smudging from the Native American tradition, and another one from a mound. We have these mounds here in the United States that are prehistoric. They were made by Native American tribes, and there's one called the Serpent Mound, which I think is like over 100 feet long. And in the where the snake's head is, there's this dip, and the water collects, like right where the third eye would be. And so a lot of people have taken the water and they drink it. And we've got a student who's making a remedy from that. We have a gal in New Zealand she's done remarkable work with astrology. She's done the new moons in all the 12 sun signs, and we call it New Beginnings. So this class it's a great place to test out remedies. And I just made a remedy at Thanksgiving, which is in November here in America. A friend, well, Angelica sent me this piece of obsidian, which comes out of a volcano. And this is a rose quartz. And the other stone was onyx, black onyx. These are transmitters, these remedies, these stones are transmitters. So this friend of mine who's a medical doctor and a homeopath was here for Thanksgiving. And we were sitting in my office and I said, look at these great stones. So she picks them up and she puts the onyx on top, and all of a sudden she is like, whoa, she is, I, where are you? She said, a portal opened, this incredible portal opened, and she's describing it. This is a medical doctor. She's a scientist. She's a Virgo. She's amazing. She's also incredibly mystical and clairvoyant. And she said, this is a remedy for great healing. She said, it's called, I said, resurrection? She said, yes, resurrection. So this is the newest remedy that I've made, and it's lovely, 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 lovely. It opens a portal to the realm of possibilities of goodness coming into your life, expanding your capacity to receive. That's really bottom line what it's all about. But yes, the light body, and you can make your own light body. So take a bottle, fill it with water and alcohol, hold it over your heart, hold it over your solar plexus, meditate, and ask to be connected to your light body. It wants to shine. This is not hard work. You don't have to pull anything out. You don't have to push anything in. Just let it be and hold it for as long as you're comfortable, and then potentize the water.
Mm.
Take it up to a 6x, offer it to a friend, see if it has any energy in it. Take it yourself when you're low. Yeah, work with your energy field that way. I love playing with,
Beautiful.
yeah, it is beautiful. And you can take, yes, you can take one that's made, but why not make your own?
I
It's your
think
own field.
I would rather have one made from your light body. I want what you're selling.
I'll send you one. I'll send you one. I think you'd love it. And I'll send
I
you
know I
this other
will.
one, Resurrection. We just proved it in about 2 weeks ago. We just did the proving of it, and it was really stunning.
Mm,
Yeah. These gals they're all homeopaths, and they have a great desire to use their intuition
mm.
and develop remedies for the spirit. And they are ever so lovely.
It's
Lovely, lovely.
amazing.
One gal
I
did unconditional love. She did unconditional love last year, made from the saliva of a puppy dog.
Oh,
And I
that would be the definition of unconditional love.
I said, how did that come about? And she said, well, I guess she was opening a door and she got the puppy's paws caught under the door. And he went, oh, was crying. She went, oh, what have I done? And she picked the puppy up and the puppy started licking her face and loving her. She said, now that's unconditional love. So she made the remedy from it, which was a lot of fun to take. It was a lovely remedy. And then she's very developed. She's got one of the loveliest spirits of anybody I've ever met. And she said, okay, now it's time to do a human one. So she did a human one, and we send the remedies out in the mail, and then we prove them when we have time. And I had some family occasion here, and there was somebody coming who is, I find, very challenging. And I usually walk around and I don't engage. I can be polite, but I'm a little uncomfortable. And I thought, I'm going to take this remedy today while they're here. And I just had a great time with everybody, including this very challenging person. I always found myself laughing and enjoying them. And it was like, I completely forgot that they were a challenge. I just took the label off, and the remedy was so sweet. And they were here for hours. They were here for hours. It was like a 5 hour visit. So, normally I'd probably go in my room and just go to sleep. But I was jolly the whole time and happy and enjoying their company, completely forgot about the challenge. So, yes, the remedy worked a treat.
That's amazing. They do say that if you should lock your wife and your dog in the boot of the car and then drive for a few hours and then see which one's the happiest when you open the boot back up. Because the dog is just always happy to see you no matter what. That really is a sign of unconditional love.
That's unconditional. That is unconditional
Yeah.
love. Yeah. I love making remedies.
I definitely don't advocate doing that, by the way, but yeah, it's quite funny.
You might be
Can,
surprised.
can you tell us a little bit about the angels and the chakras as well? Because I've heard a lot of things over the years to do with chakras, but the way that you combine the angels, and I know you have a big affinity for that anyway with your beautiful art, and anybody watching on Rumble will see your beautiful artwork that you've created behind you, and your oracle cards with the angels and your artwork and everything. So, how did this idea with the angels and the chakras come together? Because I haven't, is that your own idea, or where did this come from?
Well, it's a story, really. I was living in Europe and I came back to America for a visit, and I was with a relative of mine who's very challenging. She's passed on, but she was mean. She was just a mean old lady, and she was hard to be around. I wasn't there very long, and she came at me. She came at me, and I got very upset, and I just had to go out. This was on the beach in California. I went to the beach and I was crying my eyes out and feeling sorry for myself. And how could somebody do that to me? You know. And all of a sudden, out of the ethers, I got this idea that the angels were in the chakras. It was just from this acute grief to this acute bliss. It was the dial went that way. And whenever I get inspiration, I get incredibly excited. And I look for pencil and paper faster than the speed of light because I have to write it down or I'll lose it. So I went back into the house and just started writing. And I saw that Archangel Michael ruled the root chakra. Of course he does. He protects the Blessed Mother. And the other thing I did was I put an Indian Hindu god on them. So it's Ganesh, the elephant god, and it's Archangel Michael and the Blessed Mother. And then I thought about the second chakra. The second chakra is about gifting, it's about receiving in order to give. And I thought, well, that's Metatron, who's the giver, he's the great manifester. So it was Metatron and Lakshmi, also the great giver. I mean, you see those pictures. I love those animated pictures of Lakshmi throwing gold everywhere. I love it. And she has four hands, right? And gold is pouring out of all of them. So Lakshmi and Metatron and Christ as the Lord of Karma. So that fit quite beautifully. And then the solar plexus, which is a very light filled color, I mean, chakra, it's filled with light, more light than yellow is the color, got more light than any other color in the spectrum, is Uriel, who brings us the light of God and represents the fire principle. So this was, and then I chose Kali, who cuts away the dross. What doesn't work gets eliminated. And then I associated it with the Holy Spirit. So the Archangel Uriel brings that fire, that warmth, that light of the Holy Spirit into our lives, into our rooms, into our offices, in our clinics. And then I got to the heart chakra, and Raphael is the great healer. Raphael, the Archangel Raphael, is the great healer who brings us the love of God. So that fit. That the deity is, the creator that lives within us. I used Lord Krishna and I used Raphael as the deities for the heart chakra. And then I came to the throat chakra, which it doesn't have an element. It represents the realm of pure consciousness. So Gabriel, the Annunciator, who brings us the word of God, was the archangel, and Sarasvata, who is the goddess of song. And the deity was not the deity, but the mouth of God. This whole chakra, the throat chakra, is called the mouth of God in metaphysics. And it's how God speaks through us. It's how that light is formed into words and thoughts, that bridge between the mind and the heart. That's what the throat chakra is. And then I got up here and I to the brow chakra, which is the realm of the goddess, of all goddesses. And I thought, why not pick the Shekinah, which is known as the feminine face of God in Judaism. And so it's the realm of the goddess who brings us the knowing, the intuition, the discernment, and the vision. The vision, knowledge and vision are a big part of this chakra, as well as wisdom. But you could take any goddess, Athena, the goddess of wisdom. You could take Hindu goddesses or Greek goddesses. I picked this great light, known as the feminine face of God. And then there's the crown chakra, which is just the light of Christ. There is no deity or angel associated with it. That is just simply what comes in and feeds our being. So that's what it works for me in my iconography. And I do love those angels. I wrote a book called, can't remember the title.
I love that. I love that you've written enough books that you forget their titles.
It's, it's called The Wisdom of Angels or something like that. It's a book published by Watkins, but it's all about angels. And that's where I put the chakras and the angels together in there with prayers and meditations and affirmations. Yeah. I realized that I need to add more to this book. And I think I will write another book about the rites of the chakras and those prayers that go with them.
Mm.
Yeah.
And can you please do like a series of affirmations as well? Like maybe some affirmation posters or something we can all put up and
Oh,
for our
that would be,
for our children to read as well. Like the children are
oh,
reading these affirmations that are feeding their chakras, and I think that would
that
be
would be
amazing.
lovely. I can see the visual of that with the angels. Because when I
Mm.
paint, the only thing I paint are angels. Honestly, I was taught by a Waldorf school teacher to throw the primary colors down onto wet paper and then let them run. And then the next day I would come in, there would be these angels, and all I had to do was fill them in. I've got hundreds and hundreds of them, and I'd love to put them in a book and get them out there with affirmations. See, these were done years and years and years ago. They're the very first ones I ever did, but I do love painting, and it's a big part of my joy.
My kiddies go to Steiner as well, and they also do that
Oh, do
type
they?
of painting. And I have it up on our walls, and it's just beautiful. They're
Oh, so
fascinating. Like just spend hours
fascinating.
looking at them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way of capturing nature,
Mm.
and they do it so well. Those kids are, I had
Mm.
a Angelica's daughter was here this weekend, and she said, "Oh, they look like Waldorf paintings." They are. Yeah,
Oh, that's
they're all over the
beautiful.
house. Angels everywhere, everywhere.
Now, I know that everyone listening is going to be wanting to know where they can purchase this book and actually everything in all your offerings in general, but just where specifically this book and then also your oracle cards and everything else. Where can we get that from?
You can get them from Amazon. This book is on Amazon, and if you live out of the United States, the best way to get it is on Amazon. Otherwise, you can get it directly from me, and I'm certainly happy to write an inscription to you. You can go to my website, which is ambikawauters.com or lifeenergymedicine.com. Yeah. Yes, but it costs more to send the book than the book costs. So that's the
That's,
problem with the
yeah.
post.
Ambika and I have been chatting about how we can get bulk copies of these books so that we can sell it
You
from our
can.
clinic in Australia. So we need to
Yes,
have a finalize that so that people can just, so that there's a place in Australia where people can get it from so they don't have that much shipping costs.
just
So hopefully we,
Amazon. You can be the sole distributor. That would be the best thing in the
oh,
world.
well, I don't necessarily want to be, I would like to be just one of the distributors because I think the more people that are selling your books and getting it out there, the better. But I would definitely like to be a distributor so that people can get hold of it and Just make it easy for them to
I'm not
access.
stopping anybody from getting it, but it's self-published. It's not gone through a publisher. So we can ship to you and you can, you know, sell them in Australia and New Zealand if you wish. That's
That would
why
be
not.
amazing, amazing. And your illumination classes and everything is just lifeenergymedicine.com is your website where people can find most.
Yes, we run classes for 7 weeks for 3.5 months. Every other week we meet on a Sunday because of the times of the people from New Zealand and Europe, so they can get on without getting up at 3 in the morning. And we send our remedies back and forth, and we look for the themes in these remedies. Who would you give this remedy to? Who needs this remedy? How do you? Last week we had a discussion about one remedy being so delightful it was kind of addictive. And I thought about it, and I grabbed Manira, Franz Vermeulen's wonderful book, Manira, in which he cites a case of somebody who was in a mental hospital who was given a 10M whatever every day for years. And I thought, how's that possible? At the time, I said, how's that possible? But since then, I've used the Ramakrishna cancer method day in and day out, where you do exactly that. You give a high potency every single day for years. So why not get the judgment off of, somebody needing a remedy? So we have some very deep discussions. We also laugh a lot. We enjoy one another's company. We come from the United States and Canada and Europe, and we'd love to get some gals from Australia, and we've got a gal from New Zealand. But it's probably the most exciting work I've ever done, teaching. I love this class. I love seeing what comes to spirit and wants to be materialized, and opening ourselves to receive that possibility and transforming it into a remedy. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think as homeopaths, and especially when we're classically trained homeopaths, we get put into such a box of you can't do this with a remedy, you can't do this, you can't do that. And one of the things that I've noticed is the moment you start telling some homeopaths it's actually okay, there's actually no limits, you can do whatever. It's such a freeing thing. And we're like, oh, really? Can I? Oh, I can? Oh, well, in that case, what's the limit? And the reality is there is zero
There's no,
limits. And the quicker we
that's right.
accept that as homeopaths, the better. And I've certainly found that with my practice, and I was very classically trained and was told like for bell noses is the example I've used on the podcast many times, but that's the one that was the most profound for me, that I was told you use it once and you never repeat it within 3 months. But we never get told why. You say, don't do it. And we're all like, oh
That's
my God, the
right.
client's gonna die. And then I do
And
a
there's
course,
there's
use,
Vermeulen in Monera saying you can use this in any potency you want, because we were told you couldn't go above, and I think a 12C was as high as we were allowed to go.
yes. Oh my
But I want to say
gosh.
something in favor of that old-fashioned training. I too fought against it, and when I made the color remedies, I was still a student, and they would not believe me that color could heal. And it was a kind of a rough go to be rejected like that. But one of my teachers said to me, "You learn homeopathy at its foundational level, learn it well, and then you do what you want." And that was made a huge difference in my life. I finished my training. I got into practice. I started working classically. And then there was a moment where I said, there's another way for me to do this. And it's to use my intuition, it's to use my guidance, and to really trust what comes through. And I never looked back, but
Mm.
I'm very well trained. I have a very good foundation in homeopathy. I don't think I would want to start with that limitless possibility. It was so narrow, but you got to get out of the box, folks. I mean, you got to get out of the box. You've got to realize that everything, I learned this from Ian Watson, everything influences you.
Mm.
Everything. A fly on the wall can change your energy field. Everything. The air you breathe, the plants that grow around you, what lives under you, what lives above you, what flies around you. Everything will influence your field. We've learned that with the glycophosphates. We've learned that with the chemtrails. We've learned it the hard way, unfortunately, that everything influences us.
Mm.
And everything can become a remedy. There's really is no limit. When Kate Birch made the glycophosphates, so many people got well, so many people's health really improved. And we're seeing it now with the Tilch streptococcinum, extraordinary remedy, life-changing remedy. And there's going to be a lot more of that coming down the pike, a lot more amazing remedies that will heal pathology, that will heal the environment. Look what Camilla Shear is doing with her agroculture now. I mean, it's beautiful. And animal husbandry, which is always used homeopathy. It's a time for resurrection. It's a time for us to just feel comfortable in our skin and be proud of who we are as healers
Mm.
and trust what comes through. Really trust. I'd never start a case with a color remedy. I would never dream of it. That's not how I'm trained. But when I do go in, when I feel the trust and the love is there, I go in with my remedies and I get very, very good results because they're open and ready for it. When you give somebody you've never met, you know them for half an hour, you want to talk about giving them blue, they go, "What are you talking about?" I'm not there to shake the cart, but
Mm.
it's about trusting yourself as well as knowing your medicine.
Mm.
The medicine has to be flexible.
Mm.
It has to be adaptable. What do we learn in homeopathy? That health is the ability to adapt to change.
Yes,
That's our
that's
definition
true.
of it.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need that
Mm.
built into us as explorers of the natural world and the unnatural world. There are a lot of good remedies that are made out of medicines
Mm.
and unnatural things like neon light. I'm thinking about the light. Yeah, this earth plane lends itself to healing. In order for it to evolve, we all need to heal. So
That's beautiful. I'm so glad you
nothing to
mentioned about just having that classical training. I feel it's kind of like the root chakra. It's like your base, your
chakra.
foundation, and then you
But you
just
don't want to stay there. You don't want to
no.
stay in the chakra. You want to get into those spirit remedies that open the heart, that open the mind, that open the crown chakra to receive goodness. Absolutely. But you need the foundation.
Hmm.
I think people who don't have a good foundation in homeopathy, they don't last very long because they get confused,
Hmm.
and they lose their assurance.
Hmm.
Unless you want to keep something in that little prescribed box,
Hmm.
you can, and there are people who could practice like that. There's nothing the matter with that. It just gets a little boring after a while. Don't you want to find out something more about yourself and the people you're treating?
Hmm.
I'd hope so.
Hmm. Ambika, you know that I can talk to you for hours and
I could
hours.
talk to you for hours.
As you know, our listeners would have, there's been a few episodes now where I've said that we're traveling around Australia in a caravan. My kitties have just woken up, and my hubby, they're all sitting there and they're waiting to have breakfast. They've all been very quiet in
Oh,
the caravan so that I can record this. So, is there a final message that you want to leave our listeners in regards to their light body before we finish up and before
yes,
let you
make
go?
your connection. It's
Mm.
right there. It just wants you to connect, you with your conscious mind, to connect to your light body, open your chakras, find the balance, give yourself the healing that's there. And God bless everybody. Thank you for listening. And thank your family for being so patient.
They're pretty amazing.
They
And
are.
and for our listeners, please go check out lifeenergymedicine.com and Healing the Light Body, Igniting the Chakras. I really like the subtitle, so I just want to add that in too. For health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. I like that you added that bit in there too.
Thank you. Thank you, Eugenia.
And
It's been
I'll
wonderful.
and I'll see you in Bali in August for our Unleashing Homeopathy conference, and we'll talk
I
some more
can't
in the
wait.
pool with a
In the
margarita.
pool. God bless safe travels, dear. Be well and
All the
thank
best.
you.
Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.